welcome back to the Blizzard Arena, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to check out our next quarterfinal match. One team has never been in a stage playoff. The other missed the stage one playoffs. That's right. It's going to be the London Spitfire going up against the Hangzhou Spark.
I mean, London, though, they are your grand finals winners of season one. They're an experienced team. Although they don't make the playoffs, the stage playoffs, in stage one, very scary team. We know when London really starts to get it rolling, and it's very difficult for anybody in the world to beat this team.
That's right. Let's have a look at our standings so far, see where we're at. And yes, the Spitfire set a precedent for sort of jumping out of nowhere and taking an entire season by storm. But here's where we're at right now in the Stage 2 playoffs. The Shock have advanced to one of the semi-finals, and the Spitfire and the Spark are down here. The winner will take on the winner of the Gladiators versus the NYXL. But Matt, we talked about London, I guess, a little bit already as a team whose expectations are kind of hard to gauge. We know they're our literal inaugural season champions.
Yeah.
But I do wonder what their expectations are coming, into this stage playoff. They've got to be expecting more. We did get to catch up with them briefly before this one to see their thoughts in this upcoming match.
Don't suggest to the heroes!
I love London. They have a flair for the dramatic.
K-스테이지 때는 어느 정도 예상을 하고 있었거든요, 팀 성적을. 작년 리그 시즌 1 때도 저희가 삐끗하는 경기력이 많았거든요. 이번 연도에도 똑같이 삐끗을 하지 않았나.
We had doubts about London, but they are putting all of those to rest right now.
확실히 저희 팀은 최상위 팀, 거의 1위 후보를 할 수 있는 팀에 비해 조금 모자란 부분들이 있고, 해설자분들, 캐스터분들이 이제 저희 팀 얘기를 최상위 팀을 예로 들면서 하는 거는 저희가 하는 만큼 그냥 나올 거라 생각하고,
굳이 잘한다고 평가 안 해주셔도 되고 그냥 결과로 봐주셨으면 좋겠어요.
Spitfire, red hot, heading into our stage playoffs.
스테이지 2 플레이오프에 올라온 팀들에게 한마디 하자면 이제 스테이지 1보다 저희 팀은 그렇게 쉽지 않을 거고, 다른 팀들도 더 세졌을 거라 생각하는데 모든 팀들끼리 재밌는 경기 했으면 좋겠습니다.
전 시즌에 걸맞는 팀이 되려면은 더 열심히 해야죠. 결국에는 우승을 저희가 하겠죠? 런던 스파이어.
Yeah, I know you asked me about London's expectations, but I figure, Gesture and Bedotion would just answer it for me. But I know they said they don't need us to tell them that they're good. They know they're good. I did an Access Granted with Nuss and Profit, and they were kind of talking about, I asked them about their stage 1 and that it was kind of on the low turn.
Paddle boat experience?
Yeah, which both of them did not want to paddle the boats, which ended up with me paddling the boat. Listen, go back and watch
Profit can't paddle a paddle boat on one ice cube a day,
But
bro.
they were saying
more than that.
These guys are in it for the long game, where last year they were up and down from stage to stage just in terms of performance. This year they realized...
Frustrating to predict, right?
But this year they realized, hey, let's build up all the way to the end. Let's work on some stuff in stage 1. We'll work on some stuff in stage 2. Get better and better and better so that they're in final form at the end of the season, ready to go for the overall season playoff.
I mean, these two teams, as well as we shift towards this matchup, have actually played before. It was back in stage 1, week 2. Now, this was back when the Spark were actually still moving Gushue and No Smite in and out of the roster, and this was before Crystal was part of the team. The Spitfire was a 3-1 victory for them, but remember, this was a Spitfire that was still putting Birdring on Nazaya and weren't quite sure what to do with that Brigitte role.
The biggest thing, though, is that the Spark then decide, about halfway through stage 1, towards the end, to just play Gushue all the time in that main tank role. That's when you start to see them pick up wins. Crystal comes in, plays so many different heroes on a lot of these maps. You see the Bastion here on Oasis. Since they put Gushue in all the time, brought in Crystal into the mix a bit, they have looked like a completely different team. A team now playing with a lot of aggression, getting in your face. Gushue can play all the main tanks at a high level. I think that it's going to definitely, with these new changes for the Spark, I think they're going to make a push towards the overall season playoffs, towards one of those top 6 spots.
And even more recently, they've made a statement, they want to try a new style. They want to try and start being a bit more assertive and controlling the flow of games. So we have high expectations of this team now, seeing them grow throughout stage 2. But let's bring them to the stage. Everybody make some noise for the Hangzhou Spark.
I think you better bow down.
We've seen changes in this team, but Crystal in the roster just seems to make sense, Matt. He's been moved in and out with Adora a couple times. We often see him on the Brigitte, but it's when we get to see him play some of those damage-dealing roles, it makes a big difference. I like that Zoe pointed out on the desk the dichotomy between the Zarya play of Rhea and Godsby sometimes they need to make that switch if they want the Sombra, but still this team looks solid.
Yeah, and I mean the supports, yeah, Bebe and IDK. IDK, we've seen him make some incredible plays on Lucio. I think these two teams, it's kind of funny. I feel like the Spark are almost turning into like a mini London, right? Maybe not the highest ceiling of London, but the same type of overall skill set of players, being able to do a lot of different things. It'll be a true test to see them go against the Spitfire.
And their opponents, of course, they've got more money on their feet than I have in my savings account. Let's welcome to the stage, the London Spitfire. Here's a fun fact for you, Matt. After they brought Guard in to play the Brigitte, their team fight win rate increased by 14%. Then, when they brought Birdring back into the roster, to play the Brigitte himself, they got another 14% on top of that from the team fight win rate. It's been up and up for the Spitfire. They're definitely starting to get to that cruising altitude.
Yeah, and you expected Birdring to come back into the lineup eventually. Maybe we thought more damage dealers were coming into the mix, but
because we thought they'd want to play that, right?
Yeah.
We knew they preferred it.
I mean, being able to end up watching Guard play the Brigitte, also a part of it. I know being such a great player all time like Birdring is, you don't want to be a bench boy. Like, you don't want to be sitting on the bench.
You don't want to ride that pine.
Nah. I mean, you'll do anything to get back in the game, right? So he really put some focus on playing Brigitte at a high level, make an impact.
Tons of fun stuff. This head-to-head is actually a very exciting matchup. Did you know that out of all sort of... So basically, generally, your team fight win percentage increases when your tanks use their ultimates. When Gushui's on Winston and he uses Primal Rage, the Spark have the highest increase to their win percentage in team fights there. So he's very good at using that ability, but we know that Gesture was also a prolific Winston.
But I mean, you see both of, Gushui just crushing in terms of his Winston play this stage. We know Gesture, that's kind of the main tank that he loves to play the most. Gesture really loves Winston or Risa, right? Can play some Wrecking Ball. The Reinhardt's been the one he's been the shakiest on, but you can see why they wanted to bring Gushui into this lineup for the Spark, keep him in the whole time. The numbers on Winston are just tremendous. We'll see if that pays off in this series. Map set presented by Toyota to kick things off.
Now remember,
no Oasis. That's all we know.
Oasis, this used to be a real backbreaker map for the Spitfire. It often popped up in map 5s in Season 1, and they tended to lose those tiebreakers. Remember, it's a first to 3. So whoever gets there is going to be taking this away, which means we might have, quite a few maps at the end. We'll see what's required after Oasis begins. We know both of these teams, Matt, recently, we thought these would be 2 DPS-heavy teams. We knew that the Spitfire didn't like playing goats or that 3-3 composition, and Hangzhou went away from it in Stage 1. Looks like that whole tier, but the difference in tanks could be crucial.
Yeah, and you'll see Gushui come out on Winston, so they probably see the same stats we see. You put him on Winston here. As Oasis,
just like I drew it up, baby.
Oasis, you can play some different types of compositions, right? You can even see some Wrecking Ball here. Is Gushui just trying to get some damage down as the players from London, they want to control the high ground here.
Oh, okay, that's some tech. Gesture just charges across on top of the pagoda here. And all right, the Spitfire can break line of sight behind this structure and also behind Gesture's shield. Gushui would have liked to have perched up there himself, but he didn't really have the option and was knocked back. Aggressive now, push from the London Spitfire, but Gesture might have gone a little bit too far, and it seems to have been the case. Gushui does get shield bashed here, but Birdring was traded out, so now it's a 4v6 favoring the Hangzhou Spark. A creative approach from the Spitfire map, but it doesn't really seem to work.
Yeah, when they get Gushui low, they try and go in, finish him off. Some nice bubbles from Godsby. Also, Crystal, they're able to provide the support, but they want to go all in on Gushui because he's the only player who could have contested Bedoshin in that scenario. Bedoshin was set up towards the back of the point. That's why you kind of played that high ground, get a good angle with the Zenyatta being able to put down some extra damage.
Who wins this tank head-to-head now? Gesture and Gushui with the difference in heroes.
Well, usually you like the Reinhardt, like the Reinhardt versus Winston battle, but now that you have the point here for Hangzhou, you can go in, you can poke a little bit, Primal Rage here available for Gushui, but you have the rally up now, so just gonna try and put down some damage while the rally is active. Don't have to burn the Primal Rage just yet.
Gushui's done well to just stay safe. He just held around that little alcove here, and with the point being contested, the Spark's still in control. Bear that in mind, 40% for them now.
Yeah, oh god! Oh man, Fury's so good at eating grabs, but the London Spitfire, they need to engage onto the Spark here. The Spark's still in control of the point. With the composition they have, they can hide it for so long. You see, it's gonna be grab plus self-destruct here. excuse for London. Primal Rage still available. Gushwei will pop it now. So just trying to get some extra percentage here for the Spark on the point.
Now, Hangzhou's composition is looking a little bit more nimble, Matt. But death still came for them in the end. That we know that Fury is that kind of player who is probably the best in the entire Overwatch League at shutting down Graviton Surge. Look at this. He saves just a little bit as he pushes around the corner. And he timed it so well. I don't think anyone does it like Fury.
Yeah, he's so good at just waiting until those final moments. Now you see Gushwei go over to Reinhardt. So once you lose that battle with the Winston versus Reinhardt, you end up using your Primal Rage. You end up switching off of it. So see how they're able to just pressure Jester's shield down. Doing a nice job of it now. They're going to lead with a self-destruct. Doesn't get anything.
Zanberry there for a bit of extra durability for both sides. And Jester gets 2 with the Shatter. But he is interrupted as he tried to follow up. It's a trade out of Brigitta's here, but Gushwei's going to go down to the Spitfire with a Reinhardt still on the battlefield. Well, I take that back. It didn't last much longer. Both teams using their Ryans as essentially the tips of their spears, but the Spitfire are the ones who control the point, and Prophet can still end a fight with a well-placed Graviton Surge, providing, of course, Rhea doesn't have it for dinner.
Baby does have Transcendence. They just don't seem like they want to just go in and engage the Spitfire just yet. So Gushwei comes back in the mix. Now you expect them to try and fight. Something that Gushwei kind of did poorly in the match recast where they played Paris was just shield management. So just watch and see, just keeps that shield up, just lets them burn it down so quick.
There's the grab. Transcendence now going to be required here. This time Godsby's Graviton connects. Let's see what the follow-up is. Gushwei, big charge. Prophet actually knocked up against the wall, but the Spitfire need to have a Zarya in the fight. Later on, Prophet's able to sustain through the damage and get rid of Crystal, but it's a trade once more. Jester now is down. IDK trying to play safe, and Bebe gets a cheeky angle. He couldn't quite find the kill quickly enough, though. And you can see Bedosian almost got away, but Bebe was tracking him. He had his eyes fixed on his opposite number. Now Bebe jumped on by Fury, who gets a Zarya bubble. Bebe has to be careful with the rest of the Spark appealed back to help out this Yara. Now he's in a great position to do a lot of damage. Remember, the Spitfire are in control. The Spark still need to reclaim the point.
Yeah, but they're still not able to just take space around the corner and flip the point. Because Jester now comes back in the mix, so you're going to have to wait a little bit here as Rhea goes in, tries to put down some damage.
They've got to get Jester, man.
Bo Zarya is getting close to 4 Graviton Surges. That's going to be one from Godsby. So Prophet will end up holding on to his, as this will be the flip for the Spark. So London decides to hold on to their grab, potentially get a use of it here. It doesn't seem like a ton of percentage. 70%, and now you're waiting for another fight. With how long the fights go on this point, you are potentially looking at this next fight as the last one of the round.
And Matt, what if Bedosian wants to have Transcendence before they start this fight? Then London will wait a little bit longer, and if the fight doesn't go well for them, the round will be over.
Knowing they don't have grab, you have enough time to just play around the corner and contest and potentially work towards that Transcendence. So you do have time here if you're London to work towards that ult.
Matt, he's getting it very slowly, though. Now starting to get a bit of damage as they play more aggressively. The Hangzhou Spark. I mean, they would love to get some other key ultimates into play, but they are fighting right now, so they're not accruing the ultimates quickly enough. Here comes Prophet, though. They want to push in. He actually holds back on using the Graviton Surge. And Gushwei, good save there by Bebe as he throws himself into the point with the Transcendence. Still working from an off-angle. Prophet trying to make it so that grab won't be eaten.
Trying to find Rhea.
I mean, he has to connect this, right? He does. It's a good connection. Rhea's going to drop the self-destruct right in front, but it doesn't really dissuade the Spitfire from pushing up. They get Rhea. He was knocked out of his mech or ejected voluntarily and didn't have the durability to stand up in the heat. Jester, very cute, tries to come around the left with a bit of an Earth Shatter. The Spark are down a player. They might give up the point conditioning or somewhat, but they need to stay close by. Prophet wants to push up, though, and that's a Shatter.
Oh, they got the point!
Knocked down! Despite an excellent Shatter coming out.
Oh, London got off the point.
The Spitfire moved away. Yes, getting 2 players shadowed off.
London's laughing on the stage. They know. They kind of gave that one away. Nice juggling of the point, though, by Gushwei and IDK. So Gushwei would come on, get a touch. I don't think he's upset. I think this is something Nuss regularly does.
It is.
He's looking over across the stage.
You don't ever get cold eyes, Matt?
No, not really.
I mean, to me, you're probably sweating up there as well. You're under the stage lights. Those ones behind the players, by the way, can blind you at 40 paces.
IDK did a nice job. He was actually rotating on that center platform on Lucio. Potentially could have actually booped them a little bit further than they would have liked to, but they sip off the point for just a second. That's huge, man. Playoff game, you lose if you're the Spark, right? Where the Spark is, they've had some nerves on stage in the past. To have that first round go your way in admittedly funny fashion.
I mean, the Spitfire maybe want to wait until you actually have captured the point before you push off at his 6, right? I get the idea. You've got to go together.
In the moment, you don't really even think about that.
Oh, that's cheeky! Gesture swatted aside like a fly there. Hello.
And I mean, it's kind of unfortunate for Gesture because they actually got what they wanted. Is that, Gushue gets onto the point and just leaves his shield up the whole time. To the point that he's running out of shield and has to back up all the way to the Hangzhou Spark side. And they try and follow it up and pick him off, but not able to do so. Gesture actually gives up his life in the process.
Again, a lot of burst damage you can put together with Discord Orb and a Fire Strike. Gushue getting knocked around a bunch here. He's out of position. Back with his team though. Ria's got in there on towards Birdring and Gesture. Not only is he low on health, but the shield's low, and again, the Spitfire didn't have a huge source of healing.
And I mean, that's the advantage of holding the point here. If you're the Spark, when we saw from the free camp POV, Gushue can play in the corner, and then you just have, Godsby, you have Ria, you have Bebe at range, just burning down Gesture's shield as he walks onto the point. So then you get to an option if you're Gesture, well, do I get onto the point without my shield and then just get burned down? Or you're just gonna have to stand on the side, give up percentage, and you have to keep playing this game over and over and over.
I mean, it's big as well because Birdring gets picked off first, Mac. That repair pack for Gesture would have allowed him to maybe go aggressive again, or at least just not die there, but it doesn't happen. Oh, it's not an echo. Both teams are using their rally here. Gonna be a Graviton Surge. It is eaten by Fury, and a Transcendence in play now. Couple players are still knocked down despite the fact that Gesture had a shield up. Fury back to his backline here. Crystal's able to block him, but Ria doesn't have a shield. He wasn't so lucky. Great sound barrier timing. That is excellent from IDK. It keeps the mech alive and allows this self-destruct play. Both teams go for it here, but no kills are scored from those. Fury playing off towards the backside of the point here, eating up a bit of Ria's damage. With Gushue and Crystal down now, he's going to have to leave the point. The Spitfire able to hold here and get themselves in the game. Hangzhou not really looking that rich in terms of ultimates.
No, I mean, well, you're going to get close to a grab here. You'll have that, coming up in the next fight. That's really about it. So you're in a spot if you're the Spark where you think about using the grab to force out Transcendence, and then you come back and you'll have your own Transcendence. You'll have a few support ultimates to work with. So don't be surprised if you see this fight in rather quickly.
We call it a junk rush.
In favor of the London Spitfire here.
Gesture wanting to play corners here. He can sort of keep his shield up if he breaks line of sight. So it's going to be a Transcendence here.
What they wanted.
All right, Hangzhou. Oh, okay, and they get a Nurse Shatter for that. That's pretty worthwhile. Just one Graviton Surge thrown in, and now Bebe's very close to a Transcendence. Call that a win, I think, if you're the Spark.
I mean, you'll definitely take that if you're the Spark. I mean, you're going to have your own Shatter, Transcendence, Rally. You're going to get very close to a self-destruct as well. So you want to give yourself a chance to maybe combo some of these ultimates. You are starting to get up in terms of percentage, though, here for the London Spitfire, where potentially, you lose this fight. London now takes the lead. You're looking at one fight territory.
You don't want to be there.
But then that's when you would have your grab back online. So you still have that big ultimate at the end.
Shatter comes in, no connection though. It's going to be a Transcendence inside.
Nice pin.
Self-destruct works out perfectly. Nice work by Gesture, but he trades himself out. He goes low. He exposes his backside to the Spark as he charges their main tank into the wall. Yes, exposing him to the blast, but it's also exposing his weak points. Nice. Sound barrier here would be great just to gird the Spitfire, but they don't need it. And now what? If you're the Spark, mate, yes, you have the Graviton Surge. The Transcendence, though, was used in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, for the Spark, you'll have your big combo with the self-destruct in the grab, so you can kind of combo it just how we saw London do. It was a nice charge from Gesture on Gushue, get him out of the Transcendence. Sure. Not able to leave his shield up.
Is it worth if you're trading one for one there, is right?
I think so. If you're in control of the point, yeah, I think it's definitely worth that trade.
Oh, Prophet needs to be careful. He's forced to use his personal bubble here. He's already at full charge, though.
This grab can't get eaten if you're the Spark.
Oh, there it is, Gesture! He tried to go for the Earth Shatter, but it was interrupted midway through the swing, and now they have nothing. Crystal was quite deep there. He's looking for Birdring, but Baby's able to finish what his teammate started. Fury will try and stall here, but there's no need. The Spitfire are already at maximum without winning the round. 99%, and that's when Hangzhou retake.
Well, the Spark, they don't even need to use their grab or self-destruct. They're going to get a Shatter out of this and a Rally. That first pickoff is massive when Gesture goes for the Shatter. Oh, it definitely puts him ahead here.
Especially having the Shatter here. This could be like, I mean, Shatter's conditionally epic, or just goes into a shield. So it really depends on the execution here. Gushue, a little bit of a, yeah, okay. Ria may be a little slow to respond to that one. Gushue takes a fair bit of damage. It forces the Spark back through the choke here. Here comes the Graviton Surge. The IDK seems to be the only prize that was caught. Oh, Gushue down! They're going to need him up on the point here. Quickly's going to try and return, but Notion has fallen. Both teams have lost the support, but Bebe had the Transcendence. It's a rally for Birdring here, and Gesture is trying to find his way back to the fight. He catches Gushue inside the small room, and look at the Sparks' health bars. They're disappearing. Still, Profit finding that pick off now. The London Spitfire have 4 on the point right now. The Spark is so split. Now, control to the Spitfire. That was bizarre. The Hangzhou Spark were pushed off the point into a series of hallways that are rarely used. You rarely see more than one player there, but that wasn't voluntary. The Spitfire just shoved them off.
And Bebe is playing inside of like those little hallways at the start. And when Gushway gets knocked down into there, so that's when London starts to come over, and he's kind of forced to use his Transcendence just to keep himself alive, where you don't have it for when Gesture shatters and he's able to make a play with it. Not ideal if you are London. That's probably not how you wanted that to go. And same for the Spark. So let's see. I mean, this is where the Spark runs some interesting stuff, Mitch. We've seen this in the past.
That's right. Yeah, like an Orisa-based composition with the
there it
Bastion. We've seen Crystal. They will set up on the high ground. They will set up in the low. If it fits, they sit.
This is what they did against the Boston Uprising when we casted it, and they were good with it. I mean, they kind of rolled with this composition, so.
Crystal had a nice little couple highlight clips from that one. So Gesture Shield's not going to last very long, but great Zaya Bubble given to him at least to allow him to get up close. But with that Immortality field in play, it's going to be tough for the Spitfire to deal with, and yet they do so. But Ocean's found Godsby of all people with a headshot, and the Spitfire have been able to do just what they had to get rid of Bastion, Matt. Now, that was very risky for London, right? Trying to get Gesture in front of that big turret.
And it was even more risky because Fury got hacked, so he did not have Defense Matrix to use to even protect Gesture. I have no idea how they're able to break that without the use of the Defense Matrix.
I think it was
for a large
Zarya Bubble
portion
from
of it.
Profit.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a really well-timed Zarya Bubble, right? You're going to have IDK already with his Amp Matrix, but there goes Crystal.
All right, here's an Amp field, though. And IDK is just going to start shooting through this one here. It's probably not really where IDK would have preferred to have this one set up. He assumed maybe the Spitfire would have all pushed in here as 6, so that fizzles. An Amplification Matrix normally is an ability that can completely swing fights. Gesture, charge, oh, that was his teammate. Doesn't want to deal with Bidoshin now. Immortality field from IDK down, and the Hangzhou Spark scrapping for a foothold here to contest.
And I'm surprised they've even stayed on this Bastion comp. They must feel really strongly that if they can get this Bastion comp to work, that they're going to be able to hold this for an extended period of time. And EMP goes off there from Godsby, as that's still the London Spitfire who end up winning this fight. Supercharger use here with Gushway. Now you're going to see everybody switch.
Fast forward to the London Spitfire team house late at night. Gesture, why are you typing in caps? Look, well, I mean, I kept shift held down all day long charging this Bastion. Long story.
Dude, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to see somebody like play like that way against the Bastion.
Oh!
Here's a grab that comes in. Nothing the Spark can do. Well, now that they stayed on this comp for so long, Mitch, I mean, it's going to be so difficult for them to come back. I mean, you're resetting everything in terms of ults. London, in a lot of these fights, haven't even needed ultimates to go in and break the Spark setup. That the Spark, you know, they haven't really even had a great chance of getting the Bastion set up and letting it do work. So I think you may have wanted to switch off of that way earlier for the Spark.
Kind of feast or famine though, right? If that composition works and you actually get the setup on the high ground on the point, then you can snowball out of control, I feel, man. Something strikes here. Fury in the doorway, got IDK. Nice little placement. That really would have been felt, that blast. Multiple different areas. Tough to break LOS on that one, and now 2 down, man. I think this is a pretty open and shut case.
Yeah, London knew exactly what to do against the Bastion comp that the Spark brought out. That last point was not close. London dominated there, the final point of Oasis.
And they'd love that now, heading into map number 2 to secure Oasis, a map that used to give them absolute nightmares. But now the London Spitfire showing us what they've been working on in the interim. Map 2 is just around the corner.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
That's it. By the way, those fantastic legendary skins are currently available through the 22nd, and they're just lovely. I mean, I actually had all the tokens saved up just from watching the stream. So token drops must work. I got them both. You got them too, Matt. You gonna play some Mercy for me tonight?
No.
It's not a euphemism.
No, I got them just to show them off. People want to see them, but no, don't really use them that much.
They are exceedingly opulent skins, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
they're cool.
Yeah.
No, they're cool. I think like the Lucio has some effects with like his hair when you're between speed and healing and whatnot. No, pretty sick skins.
And now our first map, pretty solidly the weight of London Spitfire in that third round on Oasis. Look, we knew Hangzhou would probably go for some sort of Bastion setup. We've sort of seen it before. But when you can close the gap with them with a Reinhardt composition and you can give your Reinhardt or your tanks enough protection, Matt, seems like as long as you can get on top of the Bastion, you're fine.
It's kind of a rough way to lose a map if you're the Spark, though, right? I mean, the first one, it's, you know, arguable, like, you know, London just kind of gets off the point, but you play them that close to go the distance. Our second point, you play them that close as well, and they end up losing the map trying to play Bastion the whole time on our third, so... Dora comes in here for Crystal. It's the substitution we usually see the Spark make, but if you're the Spark and you don't get the initial kills with the Bastion and get close to setting up, like, why not give yourself a chance of winning the map and switch off of it? I mean, they push into the same hallway 3 times, and London obviously knew how to go against it.
And there is no worse composition to be playing against when you're behind the 8 ball, Matt, than that 3-3.
Yeah.
Right, those support ultimates are so important. Up next is Blizzard World. This is a hybrid map. It is a fun fact for you. Hangzhou have only won 2 out of 14 of their hybrid maps so far. It has not been a good record.
Statistically, that's not good.
That's right.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Not favouring them. This one here, they've managed to nabbo in, so there is that. But in general, this is a map that we've actually seen them in the past try to play the Sombra a bit more.
Yeah, they like the Sombra comps with Godsby able to play the Sombra role. You can also play some Winston here. There's a lot of high ground, you know, to be able to get to, you know, as we go into the second point. And then you know, the third point towards the end, kind of you have to play Reinhardt. So it'll be London Spitfire on D here. Nothing tricky from London. They'll play the Reinhardt-based 3-3.
We should expect to see 3-3 from both sides here, I feel.
The Spark probably just going to, you know, teleport some players forward. Rhea then goes over to D.Va. So get there a hair bit faster. So they're going to play some Reinhardt here as well. So Rein versus Rein compositions. Some high ground control on the defensive end allows, you know, Bedosian to get some nice lines of sight.
We'll see this corner be a real hotbed for action now, as both Reinhardts are going to try and use it to swing around without sort of exposing themselves to too much damage. I say that, Gushue takes about 80% of his hit points in damage almost instantly. This will slow the Spark down. He will get given a repair pack, but then that won't be available for a short period. And there won't be burst healing for the Spark for that time.
Yeah, the Spark just need to get aggressive onto the point, or else Gesture's going to be able to conserve that shield, and you're never going to be able to work it down long enough to get around the corner. Gesture getting very low, though.
That is so clever. The Spark traded in the health of Gushue's shield for damage on the rest of the Spitfire's heroes. He was set up there, and from the high ground you saw Rhea just getting damage in. Godsby also working around the side, taking Burn Ring down to about 10 health. That is just great trading with a 3-3 composition. It feels good as Reinhardt when you can hold your shield up and know your teammates are going to get the job done.
Well, I mean, you better hope they get it done, because if they don't, then you're going down pretty quick. I mean, that's I mean, that would be the overall downside of playing that way, right? Is that if your Reinhardt's got the shield up, nobody's getting aggressive, and as you see sometimes, like Zaryas and Divas will take those side angles, right, on the Reinhardt, trying to put some damage down on Reinhardt themselves, work down the armor of Reinhardt, then go for the shield. So you see the Spark have everything for this next fight in terms of ultimates, all 6 across the board, so a lot to use. London getting very close to all, not at all yet, but both teams trying to gain some offense. Oh, he got lucky. That grab did not get eaten here. Fury coming in, self-destruct over the top. That'll be 2.
And that should be enough. Yeah, not really a hint of subtlety about Godsby's approach there. Over the years, I think D.Va players have become trained to identify when their opposing Xayah is intending to use Graviton Surge. Quite often you'll see Xayahs point their rifle at the ground before they use their ultimate. And that, obviously, there's less travel distance before the Graviton actually opens up, draws everybody in, which means less chance of it being intercepted. But still, it's pretty obvious if your opponent is walking up at you looking at the ground.
Yeah, or like try and nail it into a pole, right? So it connects with the pole before. This will be the Graviton Surge that comes out from London. Transcendence uses a big shatter from Gushue. No follow-up, though.
Yeah, I see the idea behind that one, but when he went to Shatter, he got knocked up, Matt, which meant that IDK was no longer protected by his shield. Gushue, maybe if he kept the shield up, he would have been all right, but Hangzhou opted to try and turn the fight around there.
I think it scares London enough, though, that they end up using their sound barrier. So they end up using the sound barrier because they're scared. It's a pretty nice shatter there from Gushue. Just no follow-up, but I think if you're London, you can't afford to lose that fight there and then potentially give the Spark like point B with a lot of time in the bank to complete the map, so you're forced to use sound barrier there.
Gesture,
Not fun for him.
the sound barrier was there for IDK though, so the Spark were, they had an itchy trigger finger expecting that one to come through, but this is just how quickly these teams that don't even feature DPS or damage dealing heroes can destroy a 500 or more HP target. That was lightning fast.
That's gonna be a video where like it's like, do you want to play Reinhardt on my team in range? Check this out. It's like he shatters, he gets somewhere, he just gets launched into the other team and just burnt down so quickly. So there's nothing really even Gesture can do in that type of situation. The other team has the effects of sound barrier. He's so far in deep on their
sound
side.
barrier for Shadow. So I mean, maybe that's worth it if you're the Reinhardt.
The Spitfire have to be careful. This is looking like it could be a very good completion time here.
Oh, there it is again!
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it could be very good, though. Even still for the Spark, right? They're going to have almost 4 minutes to complete the match.
Oh, that bomb! Look, Gesture can't get back! He was knocked up around the corner. He's been displaced so much, man. Yes, that self-destruct bomb didn't get any kills, but it split the Spitfire down the middle, and they were in complete disarray. Their composition requires them to be all in one place, all understanding what they need to do, or at least where their tanks are standing. There was no chance there. Nicely done by Hangzhou. They are really, channeling aggression here and using the chaos of these fights. And they're the ones that always seem to be coming out on top in these messy engagements.
When this team is aggressive, like we saw them against the San Francisco Shock, they are a much different team. I think, like we were talking in the pregame, they need to keep this aggressive playstyle up over the course of a series. I know they played the Shock pretty close, that they end up losing the series 4-0, but they just look like a way different team. I think if they can keep that pressure up, you see Prophet not have a ton of charge here. Now puts a bubble on a Gesture, gets all that energy.
Both Reinhardts went for Shadows there, but a Transcendence for the Spark may help them. Self-destruct, nothing found with that one. Fury was definitely looking, but no dice. Gushue, well, that was a wild charge. Looks like he got directed and knocked off the edge. Fury, good finish. Gushue had no choice but to drop his shield and try and walk up, but that left him vulnerable. Still, though, Gesture goes down now. Positioned for the Spitfire, they're so split. Fury, what does he do from here? He tries to fly back to his team, but the Spark would love to chase him and get a cheeky D-suit. A mini D.Va fighting on the point for the Spitfire here would not be good.
I'm surprised they didn't have somebody try and chase him down, whether it's like IDK going around the corner, but they get Gushue back into the mix. The payload very close to completing the map.
Self-destructing over the top here, Adora pinned up against the wall. Gesture still able to protect his team though. However, murdering himself, both go down, and that's a two-player shatter. Prophet and Fury knocked to the ground. The Hangzhou Spark, they don't just bring the thunder, they rode it straight to the end of the map. Beautiful snowball and a masterclass in the 3-3 composition.
Some really nice stuff there from the Spark. Completing the map here on Blizzard World and having 2 minutes and 10 seconds in the bank. We'll see if London can beat it on their offense after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Hangzhou Spark, I alluded to it before this map began. Historically, they've not had great fortune on hybrid maps in general. Just the numbers don't look great for them in terms of win-loss percentage, but this was an example of an attack, I think, that is definitely going to set them ahead in this map. That is a very strong time to set. They have 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining after finishing.
I mean, they're just playing the numbers. It'd be very difficult for them to lose this map with having completed the map with 2 minutes and 10 seconds in the bank. So we'll see how London bounces back. London, obviously, you know, the championship pedigree. They've been there before, right? They've been in the playoff scenarios, whether it's stage or overall season. They've
been on some of the biggest stages in Overwatch, man.
Biggest stages, yeah. I mean, there is not a scenario that they have not faced. So we'll see if London can change anything, you know, gain the upper hand as they go into their offensive side. But you can see the Stage 2 semifinals on ABC Saturday, 12 p.m. PT. Don't want to miss that, so stay tuned. You know on ABC for that. A lot of sick matchup potentials, right? You know, coming into the semifinals.
I mean, as we work down to our top 4 of this Stage 2, there are multiple teams at 7-0, 6-1, even 5-2 that are going to give us some absolute rip-roarer matches.
Rip-roarers.
Rip-roarer.
Yep.
You can have a rip-snorter or a
Gotcha.
rip-roarer.
Yep.
It really depends. My sinuses are clear though, so
I'm
it's a roar.
convinced you just make these up on the fly, that nobody actually uses
Prove it.
You know, I actually would have no way to prove it.
Spitfire. Matt. Looks like they're going to go with the Reinhardt again. I think Gesture has struggled a little bit against Gushue so far on this map in the Ryan battle.
Oh yeah, I mean, large damage done, in favor of Gushue. I mean, all the stats from map 1 favor Gushue. Obviously, London did kind of get rolled during that, so you expect the numbers to be that way. But I think in the battle of these Reinhardts, where I think Gesture struggled a little bit early on in the season as Reinhardt, I think it's picked up a bit. And Gushue, we've seen him not really look at his best on Reinhardt. I think he can definitely play it at a high level, like a very high level. But I think it's really just how they utilize the shield, and then when it comes down to those Zarya bubbles, see how far back you push Gushue here.
They are so aggressive,
Good
the Spitfire,
field,
but the Spark are doing their best cactus impression right now. Because as soon as the Spitfire descend upon them, all of their hit points just disappeared. Gesture won't get away with that one.
But I mean, keeping Gushue alive there is not even really on Gushue. I mean, it is on the peel back, the bubbles from Godsby, the armor pack from Adora, Rhea with some nice plays, getting back. I mean, Rhea's still yet to die here.
You saw Fury,
on this map.
Fury didn't even get to the Spark before he was desuited. Those fights can be a little bit hard to keep track of because we see, obviously, the Spitfire are essentially going to slam themselves into the front line of the Spark and try and focus a single target. So you want to try and see where the Discord Orb is being placed. Generally, if one of the Reinhardts have that applied to them, that can only happen if their shields are down, or if you get around it, then you might see them collapse on there. Getting the Reinhardt is often the go for a lot of these teams, the pick they're looking for. So Spitfire, Matt, they try and outmaneuver here.
Oh, and Hangzhou wants to engage right away. It's going to be rally from both sides to kick it off.
Just, that had to be a Transcendence there, but Ocean forced to use that one. He may not have it for a Graviton Surge later in the fight. He needed to keep his main tank alive. Both teams going for the Shadow, but guess what? Gushue's looks a heck of a lot better. Just is caught inside the Graviton. Yeah, the damage now in from behind. IDK just skirts around the cracked Reinhardt shield of Gesture, and the rest of his team collapse, and they finish the job. Matt, you've used some key ultimates here as the London Spitfire.
IDK busts him out. It's a little tactical crouch there.
I'm all about it. Look, he's limbering up. See, when you're on skates all day, Matt, sometimes you don't really get to feel
tough, man. It's tough.
You've just got to make sure that you're flexible.
Did you need the grab there if you're the Spark, you think?
Not necessarily. I think if you don't use grab there as Hangzhou, you feel so much better about Bedosin being forced to use Transcendence earlier in the fight to keep Gesture alive.
Maybe it's a nice job of holding his trance until the very end of Bedosin, which gives the Spark a huge advantage on the opponent.
I mean, both of those Zenyatas may have their Transcendences again in this fight, depending on how quickly these grabs come out. So we'll see how long they want to trade for. Okay, Gushue this time getting knocked out of position. Oh, great defense matrix from Rhea. Keeps Gushue alive. He doesn't need the Graviton Surge in fairness, but still the trades are good. Gushue suspended inside the Graviton Surge, is still able to swing the hammer and claim Gesture. And that's insane. Now, we talked there might be a hint of London maybe, using these ultimates or, unnecessarily. I mean, now they use the big ones. They get no value for them. That's crushing. And both Zens are going to have Transcendence here, but profit on that 5% is looking pretty sad.
Oh, they're in a really tough spot here, London. I mean, you're walking into another grab, Transcendence, Shatter here, where I think if you're London, right? You know, the push is coming pretty slow, so this will be the final fight. And potentially here is, oh, that's going to be an early grab from Godsby. You probably did not expect that there. But it gets Transcendence out, though, so now they can back up and play off of this.
Bebe still has his, Prophet has no grab, so now the Spark can use Transcendence aggressively instead of just to counter the Graviton surge.
They're throwing ultimates
That was
in like crazy.
opportunistic. I still think this Transcendence here from Bebe is big. Let's see what the Spitfire can do. They have a sound barrier. In all fairness, the Spark will let them have a little bit of control on the point. They'll take the time now just to, you know, heal up before they push out. The bandage is out. Spitfire now, I mean, they have a chance though. Prophet might actually get grabbed because the Spark have taken quite some time to respond here. It's just as well the Baby has Transcendence. Slow and steady now. There goes the grab straight into the corner. Prophet tries to push up, takes a lot of damage early on, and now Sound Barrier coming out for the Spitfire. Over the top is Fury. Here comes a self-destruct. Now what does this do for the Spark? Can it break him out? It can! Goose Ray ends Gesture. It's a Fire Strike. It wouldn't have mattered if Gesture had his shield up, but he had an Earth Shatter, and he may not have a chance to use it now. Gesture in the charge, gets his second for the fight, and Bird Ring falls the way of the Weary. Fury will try for a self-destruct, but there's no one left on that point to contest. And the Hangzhou Spark, they fire back across the breach with a quick map 2 victory. And we're even here, Matt. And we are starting to see both of these teams show their true colors. The Spark look great on a map type that historically has just straight up not favored them.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear what the halftime crew has to say. You lose the map 1 for the Spark when you move away from the 3-3. When you looked pretty good, you come in, you run it all map 2 long, and you crush. We got a tied series going into half. We'll see you right after the halftime.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Enter for a chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime trip for you and a friend to attend the 2019 Overwatch League Grand Finals and get the latest 9th-gen Intel Core i9 processor. Visit intel.gg/Core i9 to enter now.
Ladies and gentlemen, that last match of the night is turned into a pretty good one after you see the Spitfire take map 1 a full hold. Leads it at 1 apiece at the half. Welcome back into the Blizzard Arena, everybody. I'm your host, Puckett, and I brought in a special guest. We needed to reinforce this desk with the greatest main tank of all time. It's Fusion!
Nice bait.
You like that? Sorry, Johnny. I had to do it. I
appreciate it.
Dude, one of the most exciting players in the league right now. We all saw him come from contenders and immediately have an impact on that Reinhardt in the league. Fusions, we have a big main tank battle in this one, though. I got to get your opinions coming into this one. Who did you think was going to have the edge? Was it going to be Gesture from the Spitfire, or did you think Gushue and the Spark would have the advantage on that Rhine?
I think both are really good Rhines overall. I mean, we've seen Gesture got this really aggressive playstyle with Spitfire in general. He's been throwing out these shatters left, right, and center, and sometimes it's paid off, sometimes it hasn't, but it feels like Gushue is adapting really fast, and he's definitely got this like playstyle that's really helping them play around Gesture right now.
I love it. Well, you kind of called it in the back when we were watching the games. You're like, all right, Gesture's going to shatter in 3, 2, 1. Walk us through some of these big plays, because early on Oasis, we saw Spark. They were running the Winston. Gushue pulls out the Reinhardt, and then it was a fair fight.
Yeah, I mean, at the start, they had the Rheingoats coming out of the gate. Definitely gives them advantage in terms of the ults. I think overall they got a lot more value out of their shatters at the start, at least. Their aggression was definitely paying off with the style that they went for with these shatters. So yeah, I think he just got a lot of value on the first map.
This is an interesting map, honestly, as well. I feel like London, in my opinion, if they took this first map, I felt like they were going to sweep it all away and get a 3-0 on the board. That was my mindset coming into this, looking at the statistics across the board. But it seems like that wasn't the case. But all around, I think I always pinned London as the better triple tank, triple support team as well on paper compared to Hangzhou. And I didn't really buy into this bandwagon that Josh seems to be going on about these days, where he's saying that Hangzhou are improving quite a lot. I wasn't particularly impressed with them when they played against Seoul. But they are turning up, apparently, as it stands, because it's now 1 apiece at the half.
I just really got the feeling that Spark had their number. I think they came really prepared, and they were very well aware of what London is doing. They really knew where Gesture is going and when he's going to shatter, and they really played nicely around that. So overall, I think it was just really good game planning and preparation from the Spark.
I have to ask you, Fusions, if we look at the numbers from our second map, you can see this is definitely in favor of Gushue. But what was the difference maker going from map 1, where it's the Spitfire taking it, to now the Spark are full holding Gesture and the Spitfire? What did they do? What did Gushue switch up?
I think on Escort in general, you can play a lot more around the Rhines, especially on the defending side. But Spark in general, and especially Gushue, definitely had Gesture's number in the second map. Like, you could just see they were walking into these setups all the time where Gesture would go in with the aggression, they would rally in or something looking for a shatter, and Gushue would suddenly be there. He'd be walking backwards, Godsby would be behind them, zapping them, and they'd be getting so much damage down on Gesture, just farming the ults faster, and then Gushue was really patient, getting those shatters off way more efficiently than Gesture was.
Do you expect to have similar numbers that we just saw there from map 2 in the second half, or is it going to be more like game 1 where it's much closer?
I think they're going to go into halftime. Gesture and Spitfire are going to come out with some different sort of strategies. They won't just run at them as aggressively anymore. So we'll have to see. But I think right now my bet would be on Gushue and the Spark stats being better.
It's all going to be about the shatters. And right now we have a special guest analyst on the floor. We got Joshua Sideshow Wilkinson to break down a special play for us. What do you have, Josh?
Have you removed me from the regular analyst?
Yes.
Am I now a guest analyst?
It's now Fusion seat. He can have this one.
Fantastic. Okay, well, the desk has been talking a lot about these Gesture's aggressive shatters. So I wanted to break one down in our Insights powered by Intel to kind of give you an example of what's been going on here. And it can be a great asset for the team. You can take a look here and see, we've just got it paused at the moment. Take a look and see what ultimates are on the board. They're trying to defend this corner choke point here, and they're trying to get as much value as they can out of the only ult that they have available, because that'll set them up really well for fights in the future. They can't just try and hold this and defend against a Spark forever. They have to make a play and be aggressive. So here's Gesture at the front lines, and they're going to try one of these aggressive plays. So as we roll the clip forwards, take a look at Nuss as well. He's currently got the speed boost on. As soon as he goes aggressive, Gesture goes for the shatter, but Spark are really well prepared. Don't worry if you missed it, because I've got it for you again here in slow motion. So Nuss over here is going to go to the speed boost. Gesture takes the opportunity to jump around the corner and shatter, but at the same time, Rhea comes in, Adora gets a bash. They really punish Gesture for it this time. And this is a nice adaptation that Spark has been making based on the predictability of Gesture. So how do you think that'll do, Desk?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this one turns out. I have to get your guys' thoughts for the second half. Right now, it's tied up 1 apiece. Gushue went in the most recent battle, but we still have at least 2 more maps to go. Taking a look at these maps, Bren, where are we heading next?
So it's going to be going to the Assault section. The reason I said I think it was going to be a clean sweep if they took map 1 is because traditionally Hangzhou Spark have been atrocious on the hybrid maps we've just been on, but they've won it now, and we're going to be moving them to the Assault maps. Still not the greatest. They're going to be avoiding Temple of Anubis, I would hope. I would imagine they were going to go into Hanamura here because it suits a lot of them quite nicely. Sometimes I like to pull out the bunker comps on the first defense. On the attacking side, they're comfortable as well playing a variety of Ghost compositions. They can play the Winston triple tank, triple support support, which Gushue specializes in particular. So Hanamura would be my pick if I was a Spark right now.
What about you, Fusions? If you are the Spitfire, you're picking the map. Who are you choosing?
I think you want to go for a map like Anubis where you can really be aggressive with the goats. I think it's going to be something where they can play around the corners, they can play around those rally shadows aggressively a lot. So I'd like to see them go for that, go to their roots and do what they're best at.
All right, we'll see how this one goes, guys. Stay tuned. This is our second quarterfinal. You don't want to miss it. Map 3 coming up when we return.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Toyota, official North American partner of the Overwatch League. Toyota, let's go places.
Hangzhou Spark, they strike back awfully fast here in this second map of the series at halftime. It was a good chance to actually sort of peel back, I think, to the layers on these teams to get an idea about some of their stylistic differences. They're things that I definitely want to dive into with you for the rest of this series, Matt. I think this team's look good. Hey, we've got some fantastic events coming up, some stuff that I'm very excited about as well. It's a place close to my heart. The Atlantic and Pacific Showdowns are our first official tournaments at the contenders level. Each showdown is going to have $125,000 US prize pool with over 100 players in this season of the Overwatch League. Have actually come from this path to pro. For those interested in the stars of tomorrow, you don't want to miss this one. Tickets are already for sale, by the way. The Atlantic Showdown is going to be in Krefeld, Germany, which is a great place, a real charming city. And tickets for the Pacific Showdown, which are going to be in Shanghai, China. I've also been there to cast Overwatch, will be available in early May. So the Atlantic Showdown, May 31, June 2nd. Pacific Showdown, May 24th to the 26th. Yeah. Head over to contenders.playoverwatch.com for more information. Really excited about this stuff.
Could be a lot of players that are going to be on your team.
Exactly. And soon, the stars of tomorrow. So you do check those out. And if you get to go down there to Germany, say hello to Tate and the crew over there for me. But let's jump back to this one now. Okay, we were saying at the start of this match, first of all, that we thought the Spark, they wanted to play more aggressive. That was actually like quoting them. But they seem to be instead punishing the aggression of the Spitfire.
I mean, you see in the play that Josh broke down, it's a great proof to that point, where Gesture goes in with the shadow is a really nice bash from Medora. Rhea comes in, flies in, knocks him back with his mech, and you're able to get Gesture right into you. They've done a really nice job of putting Gushue in successful positions to be a pretty nice factor. As Hanamura will be the next map that comes in here. So
London choose Hanamura when they are 3-0-1 on Temple of Anubis, and Hangzhou are 1-5 on that map. What an odd decision.
Anubis does give you an opportunity to come out with some wacky setups where it could kind of catch you off guard. So does Hanamura here, where on defense you can play some bunker type of setups. Gesture could play some Wrecking Ball on offense if you would like, if you're London. So we'll see maybe London cooking up some kind of strategy here.
Yep. That's not anatomically possible. Okay.
So right now you see a Winston D here for the Spark. Let's see if they change offense. So you'll have Winston offense now here for London. So
They ain't
wanna
changed
match
off and off of it right now.
Interesting that they would, usually when teams run the Winston, you would like to run the Reinhardt into that. Like it's usually like a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors type of game, right? But it seems like London want to go back to this Winston-based comp.
All right, good spread to the high ground. Oh, I don't know how much charge there really would have been for God to be in that engagement. Gesture though, stunned up, forced to jump out. Syria attempting to follow up here. The whole Spitfire put themselves in this small room in the Spark. Are they going to let this stand?
They have to. They were a little bit slow to the punch. Like they tried to beat them and maybe get them before they went up the stairs. Like Gouchway wraps through the back doorway, but just not fast enough. Maybe like 2 seconds earlier, and they were able to meet them at the punch. Not allowed them to get this high ground.
This next fight's going to be so interesting, Matt, because the Spitfire are going to drop now to the point and try and contest it with a couple of these players. I mean, setting up positions like this will allow Gesture to drop down, do damage, then jump back up. But he sees a Brigitte. He says, no, I don't think I want to do that at all, actually. Rhea takes a bit of damage early, so Fury winning out on just that head-to-head trade on the point, which could manifest in a big advantage later on in the fight if they don't heal Rhea up quickly. He's still a little bit low. Birdring and Prophet taking a bit of damage now. Fury just playing off to the side. They have forced the Spark off the point without any loss of players here, which is so fascinating. But guess what? It's Primal Rage time. Gouchway really gives his team a boost when he has his ultimate active in these fights. Let's see what he can do. Transcendence is going to be used. Gouchway taken to the sky now to the front door here. A bit of free damage to be had as no one was looking this direction. And Godspeed's going to have himself a Graviton Surge if he survives. Looks good so far. Maybe though not so lucky. They're going to go for the Graviton Surge anyway, but a Sound Barrier now comes out from the Spitfire. Birdring, he's so low. He tried to get out with a shield bash, it looks like, but he was caught by Gouchway. And Rhea was able to run Nuss down.
Oh, that was a sick Primal Rage from Gouchway. So he pops it and then he gets onto the point and he realizes that London's going to back up. And what does he do? He completes like a huge jump off of the map pretty much towards the backside of the point. And then another jump while in midair towards the backside. And that's how he's able to push London back into the remaining members of the Spark.
But look what he did more importantly to Bedosian as well. He put Bedosian in a position where he was actually cut off from the rest of his team. 4 players on the Spitfire weren't getting healing, so they couldn't really be aggressive. So it bought the Spark time until the Transcendence had finished.
And he's already got another Primal Rage to use, so you know how good he is with that Winston ultimate. It'll be Gesture who uses the Primal Rage, trying to open things up here.
Graviton's thrown in here, Transcendence. And it was actually Gesture using his Primal just to sit on the point here. That extra mobility can have a few unintended positives. But the Spark are able to move back in position. So the Graviton for the Spitfire, I mean, as the smoke clears, or as the gravity waves dissipate, as it were, they don't really have an advantage to speak of.
It's so interesting how, you know, we only have 2 fights that go down. 7 total deaths in the game.
3 minutes passed.
And we're at 50 seconds left. 2 really, well, 1 really drawn out fight. I mean, Prophet, you know, because there's not really a second offensive push from the Spitfire, so far behind in terms of, you know, Graviton Surge ult charge. Is Godspeed already with another one?
Well, Matt, your burst damage in a 3-3 composition comes from Reinhardt. Neither of these teams have it. It's all over
You're gonna have to back up here now if you're London. You can't fight this.
That was the exception, by the way, to no burst damage. This is Zenyatta volley to the head.
This is really nice here from the Spark.
They have 1 more fight.
I really don't know if London should have played this Winston into this. I think they could have played the Reinhardt. Then if they would have gotten that pole position on the point, maybe had a chance. It's going to be a grab that's going to come down from behind.
I love this. Hangzhou now, they flip the switch. Now they want to be a bit more aggressive. Do they check this corner? Yes, they do. Okay, this could be pretty dangerous. They might have put themselves in a bad spot. Grisham's going to drop right on in now, but Godspeed is taken down. He still gets the Graviton Surge away, and there it is. Rhea fights 2, and it was not even a moment for the Spitfire to get to the point. They never even got close. They almost got to shore, and the wind just blew them back out to sea again. And Hangzhou Spark are set up now to comfortably snatch this map away. Some cute tricks at the end seem to pay off. We'll be back in just a moment here as the Spark look to attack to capitalize on their stellar defense.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Instead of going to a map which London are 5-1 on, the Spitfire choose to go to Hanamura, which is a 1-1 for them, and the Spark were 1-1 until now, potentially.
Yeah.
As the Spark full hold the Spitfire on defense.
And, you know, maybe it's something that comes out of halftime where you weren't really loving how you were playing that Ryan versus Ryan matchup, and you wanted a map where you can play a little bit more Winston on in terms of offense or defense here. So
it's best be getting up early in the morning, doing your press-ups before you get out the door.
Yeah.
You want to try and take on Gooshway.
Yeah, you got to get your press-ups on. Yep. Before you get out the door in the morning. Yep.
By the way, we've been really enjoying digging into
awesome.
the stylistic differences between main tanks in this matchup. Great way to see those is actually seeing their player POVs with the wall access pass. Head over to twitch.tv/P/Overwatch League. Watch your way, fam.
You can a lot of really awesome players in this match to watch from their PVs. One Bebe really crushing on the Zenyatta role for the Spark.
Huge pick on Gesture on Bedosian earlier.
Let's see how this goes. We're talking about London not playing Rhine into the Winston. The Spark will opt to play the Reinhardt here into the defensive Winston of the London Spitfire. You usually favor the Reinhardt 3-3 in the composition versus the Winston 3-3. So let's see if this goes any better for the Spark.
Bebe just looking for a quick charge on Transcendence, a bit of early damage. He's not really expecting a kill here. Slow and steady for the Hangzhou Spark now. This composition requires them to stick together and not get ahead of themselves or each other.
I mean, for the Spitfire, Gesture has to play this perfectly, right? I mean, if he goes in a little bit too deep, stun, Discord, bubble broken, he's done, and then, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for London to battle it out 5-on-6.
Here comes the push in from Gesture. It looks like he was given his Zarya bubble there to start with. Oh, chill bash from Midori. He held it, but he missed Gesture. It may not matter. Gesture's able to get away. Good repair pack throw there. But Bebe has a nice little corner, and that Transcendence is coming.
You can also just generate so much more charge for your Zarya with the Reinhardt as opposed to the Winston as well, as this will be a rally here for London. They know they need to win this fight.
Finally, they burn Gooshway down, though. 4 players from the Spitfire involved in that elimination. It's a trade, though. Bebe's able to find the finish on Gesture. Here's the Transcendence from Bidosin.
You back up here if you're the Spark. I mean, you have all the time in the world, right? You know that they are down a player, having to come back for the respawn.
Now, Gooshway can actually walk up and join his team here, but the Spark will double back just to join up with him in case he doesn't get, just so he doesn't get picked off anyway. Fury self-destruct in the corner, no good there. Graviton Surge coming out, Spitfire. They don't have a Transcendence to stave off the damage here. They really need to do more, and they can't. Rhea gets another double. And now it's going to be Nusset on the point, pressured away here by Rhea pretty comfortably. Gesture trying to use Power of Rage, but he's stunned up, and that damage is shed, Matt. That always gets aimed at Winston's in a pinch. It was right there. And the Hangzhou Spark wipe the floor with the London Spitfire and go ahead in the series now. Slow and steady wins the race, and the Spark know just how to get it done.
Yeah, and this is a map where London will look back on in their offensive attack, but they're going to wonder if they should have ran that Reinhardt into the defensive Winston of the Spark. They don't. They get full held. The Spark on offense decide to run the Rhine. They complete the map. The Spark 1 map away from taking this series.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.
The Spark must have been rubbing their hands together with glee when they saw not only the Hanamura Mac pit, but also a Winston looking them dead in the eyes as London tried to defend against their push. They had to be happy or attack. Well, they had to be happy with that.
Now, if you're the Spark, this is an interesting position to be in. Obviously, you're up 2-1 in the series, one map away from beating our defending overall league champions from last year. You also now have seen that they are wanting to play Winston a really bad way. We take a look at where we are in the series.
Really bad way.
I mean, they stuck on it all Hanamura long, right? You know, you came out with the Reinhardt, they matched you Winston. It's like, you know, at some points London's gonna have to run the Reinhardt. It's like, if you're the Spark, you can just force them onto that. Like, do you like your chances in that matchup now? So it'll be the Spark on defense here to kick things off. Looks like they will play Winston on defense here. Gibraltar, I think, is one of the different maps where I think you can play either Winston or Ryan on D, and it's just kind of preference on where you like to hold. Like, if you want to take the open space after the bridge, I think you can play the Winston. Ryan do a lot of nice job controlling the high ground. If you want to play that, grinded out battle inside of the tunnel, then you can go with the Reinhardt. So it'll be interesting as this map develops. I think a lot of pressure on the London Spitfire here to step it up.
Oh, the Winston it is, in fact, for the Spitfire on attack for Gesture.
Oh, they changed that last one? Okay.
Sometimes we see random Orisa picks last minute because we see a Hulk thrown out for the Roadhog.
Sonic arrows here. Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting here. The Spitfire had to be aggressive now. You see Gesture's trying to do just that after Gushui made a foray. They'll play for this high ground here. Both main tanks are going to have to use their increased mobility over Reinhardt to try and displace the enemy team and also isolate, carve off the very important targets like your supports.
Yeah, you see the positioning, so this is what I was talking about, where the Spark want to fight in the open space, so they give up some progress of the payload so they can control some of that high ground. And
down!
You can get down and you can put so much damage, right? Because they have to come through the choke. So Gushui can sit up above, he can put down the damage, doubling up Gesture in terms of, charging this Primal Rage. And now look, you have them in this close quarter area. Gushui does get stunned up. They keep him pretty topped up though in terms of HP.
Without the heavy hitting Reinhardt map, the Discord Orb is such an important part of the composition's success. Bebe's found 2 kills. He opened up the fight by getting one on it was Gesture. This is about to get really messy. Gushui about to throw out some postmodern artwork. Plenty of that red paint. Birdring being taken out by him will stop the Spitfire here. And you can see, Matt, the Zenyatta's play much more of an important role here where there's no Reinhardt shield to block not only the Discord Orb, but also just their orbs of destruction.
Yeah, the Spark did have to use a rally though. I think it got scary a little bit when Fury in Pilot Diva mode actually ends up taking out Bebe, as that'll be the Graviton Surge that opened things up there.
Matt, that body block was huge. Gushui made it so there was no healing.
He's got another Primal Rage before Gesture has gotten his first.
That is just unbelievable. This individual, and we first saw Gushui sort of emerge during World Cup qualifiers for Team China. He is just looking better and better, man.
So Gushui is getting a Primal Rage every 44 seconds, an unreal rate. Most likely will not keep that up throughout the remainder of the map or series, how long it goes. Gesture sitting out of Primal Rage every 1:48. Just a lot of, because you have this high ground here for Gushui. You see when he's firing, that Winston cannon, it's connecting with so many targets. Fury's going to get Team Mech here going to the high ground, trying to help the Winston.
Bidoshin has to be heated right now. He saved that Transcendence up for a special occasion, and when he went to use it, he tried to save Prophet, who was caught in the Graviton, but he had no chance. I'm still stuck on that. The Spark here working up towards yet another Graviton Surge. Godspeed isn't far away here. The Spitfire have to start using some of their ultimate abilities aggressively.
What do you do with a Graviton Surge when they're sat up on the high ground like this? Like, what do you do? I mean, he's just getting booped down every time.
You have
now
to
they
hope
have to
the
go
Spark
play under
challenge.
here. Yeah, I mean, they're going to go out and play under here. The best chance is if you speed boost into the server room and they follow. You have to be careful though. I mean, that's kind of an easy read for Rhea to potentially get a defense matrix seed of this. We're already at 60 seconds. Well, like Hanamura, it's taking a long time for this to get going.
This is the top seed of the Atlantic Division, the London Spitfire, against the 7th seed overall in our stage playoffs. And
I agree with Sideshow though. I think towards the end of the stage, the Spark were definitely not a 7th seed. Like, they have played very strong over the last few games.
Oh! She's on the other foot this time. Rhea finally getting his just desserts. And clearly satisfying him. That was such an important Graviton surge. Everything the Spitfire is trying to use to leverage their way out of this sticky situation, Matt, has just been negated.
This is it, though. I mean, there's only 20 seconds on the clock here. I mean, they need to make something out of this push.
It's going to be now or whatever, but what do the Spitfire have to work with?
Nothing.
Couple sticks around the nature trying to make fire, but they're missing the spark. Hangzhou looking just far too good.
IDK with the nice boot.
Oh, yeah. Where you going, Jester? Where are you going?
Nice play.
This is Mousetrap edition of Overwatch League, ladies and gentlemen, and the Hangzhou Sparks shut the door in the space of the Spitfire. They have been grounded on Gibraltar. And that means that the Spark do not have to traverse far through this map to secure victory, and only in this map, but in this series. They are on the brink of going to our Stage 2 semi-finals.
Yeah, really hard for London there. I think when you see that Winston, right, and you know that they want to play from the defensive end on the high ground, come down, force you into that open space. If you play the Reinhardt there, you can play some of that game in the server room, right? You can start to move that payload around the corner. So get this, Hanamura, London picks up 3 kills, the whole map. Right now, they have 1. Coming out of halftime, you could have the London Spitfire go home, your champions from last year, with getting 4 kills potentially. Like, we'll see what happens in the second half here of this map. But only 4 kills in the whole second half of the series.
This is a clobbering. And Rhea,
it's
Rhea has not died in the last 3 maps. 3 maps. This being the 3rd, of course. We have only had 4 maps in this series, so do the math.
That's a good point.
Well, coming up tomorrow, it's going to be our quarterfinals continuing. 6 p.m. Pacific time, the NYXL take on the Los Angeles Gladiators, East versus West, in a clash for a semi-finals berth. Remember, one of those two, the winner of that match could be eyeing off the winner of this one. Again, it just keeps getting better here at the tail end of Stage 2.
So now that Gesture's playing the Rhine on defense, let's see what the Spark decide to do when they see that. Do they stay on Winston? You could here to try and play for that high ground, or you can take the battles in the tunnel. So you're just going to get a halt here, just try and get a hook, nothing happens. I think teams will eventually stop doing that, because I mean, we haven't seen.
I mean, what do they lose, you know? Like, all you need to see is one team just position a couple pixels in the wrong direction, and it could all be over.
Look at
Fury.
Yeah,
Oh, we got T-Suit! Oh, that's not good at all! Rhea chased him down!
That cannot happen at this stage of the game.
It was the Discord over Pepe, though. There was so much damage there, Rhea. What a job done. Who's going to eat the damage now? No one's going to be able to help Jess to keep his shield up. The London Spitfire is stuck in the cupboard under the stairs. No mail on Sundays. Well, there won't be any games on Sunday for the Spitfire, because this is the end of the line for them.
In a decider, how does that happen?
Hammond, it's going to be the wrecking ball now returning to the frame, with the Spitfire taking a lot of damage, but they get a door up. That could be huge. Getting rid of Bebe is massive.
Why did the Spark not just get aggressive and just go in? They had no Diva. Your Zarya's charged. Go. They've gone all series. And now they decide at the biggest moment when they get a huge opportunity to just stand there and let him come back and make a play. So you do see the cart get very close, though, at the top of your screen, getting that.
It was almost at the top of the list.
Still, I mean,
Reese has come down and play. You have to challenge me now, or I'm going to push this payload to the end.
1, how does that happen to Fury? 2, how do you not take a big advantage?
The Spitfire, London had to drop off the high ground straight away there. The margin of error is so slim. His shield's broken. Is this where you go aggressive? Goose's shield is almost broken as well, but those transcendence
help Gesture.
And it won't be there with the grab. And there it is, Godspeed lets it go now. Sound barrier in response, both big support ults now used by the London Spitfire. Self-destruct to the backside, and grab coming the other way, but guess who has a transcendence? It's Bebe. He's able to protect his team. Gesture's knocked out of the way, Goose's a little bit low. Shield down, Gesture's also missing. Now for the backside, Godspeed can continue to pressure on down, and Birdring might just have to take some shade here, as the sky is just filled with projectiles of damage. And as a Hangzhou Spark just handed them out. Shot after shot, and hit point by hit point, the Spitfire are cut down to size. And now it's going to be a transcendence for Bidoshin on the point to try and keep this thing alive. But they just get handed an L. And that's going to be it. The Hangzhou Spark, in their first playoff appearance in the Overwatch League, will advance to the semi-finals with a victory over our reigning champions, the London Spitfire.
And this is the Spark team we were promised at the beginning of the season. We had heard so many good things coming into the Overwatch League, that this Spark team, they looked phenomenal coming in, scrimmage is going well, they had everybody clicking on all cylinders. Stage 1, a bit of a dud from them. Stage 2, they've come back. It started off a little bit slow, started to gain some steam towards the end. And I think when you saw they were able to beat Seoul Dynasty to get in, I think they probably learned as well. Like, we can beat some of these teams towards the top. And I think this match against London here today, look, you need one game to really set you off, gain a lot of confidence to go deep in these playoffs. I mean, this could be a scary team.
And the winds of change blow at gale force here in the Overwatch League, but the Spitfire haven't been able to get that tailwind since last season. It's the Spark that go ahead, and now we're going to head down to the floor with Danny and an interview with IDK.
Mitchell, Matt, thank you very much. What is up, everybody? I am here with IDK from Hangzhou Sparks. Everybody make some noise! What an amazing job. You guys have just defeated the last year champions, London Spitfire, in your first ever playoffs. IDK, what's going through your mind right now? 일단 오늘 승리 너무나 축하드리고요. 처음 프로를 또 저번 시즌 챔피언인 런던 스피파를 방금 이기셨습니다. 좀 지금 어떤 생각이 드시나요? 지금 머릿속에 지금 어떤 감정, 뭘 지금 느끼시고 계신가요?
네, 저희가 초반에 밴쿠버와 쇼크를 만나면서 되게 힘들게 경기를 했는데 그걸 다 이겨내고 풀업까지 왔고, 그리고 저번 스테이지 1 때 런던한테 졌던 경기를 오늘 복수할 수 있어서 되게 행복해요 지금.
So we've had a rough stage, the stage coming into the matches with Vancouver Titans and San Francisco Shock, but we made it into the playoff, and I'm really just happy to get my revenge on the London Spark, the revenge that we couldn't get in the stage 1 of the season 2 of Overwatch League. So yeah, congratulations, you guys did an amazing job. And also, moving in, you guys will be going into the semifinals against the San Francisco Shock. They are undefeated currently. IDK, what do you guys have to do in order to defeat them in the semifinals? 준결승전, 이제 샌프란시스코 샷과의 경기가 다음에 있는데요. 어떻게 하면 항저우 팀이 이길 수 있을까요?
저희가 지금까지 스테이지 1, 2 하면서 쇼크를 총 2번 정도 만났는데 그럴 때마다 4대 0으로 허무하게 진 것 같아서 이번에는 지더라도 절대 팬들이 봤을 때 쉬운 경기가 아니라는 걸 이렇게 좀 보여주고 싶어요, 저희도.
Coming into this season, I think we've faced San Francisco Shock twice, and both times I think we were defeated 0-4. So for the Saturday match in the semifinals against San Francisco Shock, I hope that even if we lose, I just want to play our best so that the Hangzhou Sparks fans wouldn't be embarrassed to be our fans. But I honestly feel like Hangzhou Sparks fans, do you believe in them? Do you think they're going to win? 4-0? 4-0 against the Sparks? See? 할 수 있습니다. 꼭 믿으세요.
그러면 이기겠습니다.
Let's say that one more time.
그러면 이기겠습니다.
카메라 보고 한 번 더 해주세요.
그러면 저희가 쇼크 꼭 이기겠습니다.
If that's the case, we will defeat San Francisco Shock. All right, IDK. One more question. I know you've been waiting for this moment doing post-match interviews. I've seen your streams. You always wanted this interview and you finally got your time. How does it feel? Is it nerve-wracking? 아무래도 제가 또 스트림도 보고 또 저번에 저희랑 또 그 워치 포인트에서 살짝 연습 인터뷰를 한번 했잖아요. 이제 진짜로 포스트매치 인터뷰를 해보니까 좀 어떠신가요?
그래도 풀업에 인터뷰를 했어. 그래서 제가 100번 이제 구주한테 양보를 해도 풀업에서 제가 인터뷰를 했으니까 저는 이걸로 만족합니다.
I'm really happy because I'm doing this interview in the Stage 2 playoffs, and now that I'm doing this interview in the playoffs, I really don't care if Gushwei gets 100 of those interviews in the regular season. I'll be happy with this one. Thank you so much, everybody. Give it up for IDK one more time. Mitch and Matt, back to you guys.
Oh, thanks, Danny.
Now, as two of the casters who've covered a lot of Hangzhou Sparks games, it's been an absolute pleasure to see them grow. I mean, can we call this the Thunderdome? Shock versus Spark?
Hey, look. The match that we casted between these two teams, when Danny said that the Spark were going to play a little bit more aggressive, and he did that in
their last head-to-head.
Yeah, that was the last head-to-head in Stage 2. It was actually rather close. It's a 4-0 that goes in favor of the Shock, but it wasn't like the Shock's normal 4-0s where they're out in your spawn and they're spawn killing you. Sinatra's throwing grabs down 2 players. It was really close. So I think that series will be a real good one on Saturday. But our Omen by HP player of the match.
Guess who?
Guess who?
Guess who? It's your boy. It's Gushwei.
So I think you could have picked a lot of different players from the Spark. I think you could have picked let's say IDK. Then you could have picked Rhea. Godspeed had a good series. But where I thought you saw the biggest difference in this series between these two teams is that main tank battle potential that we highlighted at the beginning of the series. And I think with how much resources a lot of teams now dedicate towards these main tanks, you gotta see value. I think you saw a really nice Reinhardt play from Guxue and Winston, where I think you saw Gesture at times, fall back on that Winston, go back to that hero that he's so comfortable on, not want to go head-to-head with Guxue in that Reinhardt battle.
Listen, man, I'm really happy to see the match play out the way it did. Yes, it didn't go to all of our possible maps, but we saw a really interesting and stark contrast between playstyles between the two rosters. It's something I hope that we look into in a few moments. Guys, you have Watchpoint to look forward to. There's a ton of stuff to unpack and to look ahead now as our playoffs continue throughout the week. We'll see you for that in just a moment. Thanks for joining us so far.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.